Hey, this is Stephen Platinum, your friend in wrestling with Platinum versus Smackdown from January 22nd, 2021. General overview, a very good show, very clever way to get to our go home. Of course, the main thing from SmackDown that they're going to contribute is Kevin Owens against Roman Reigns in a last man standing match. So we found kind of clever ways to get around that, clever ways to sort of interest people into sticking around until the very end. And I think a clever way of making us think that perhaps Kevin Owens has a chance. We open up and we look back at last week's show. So Adam Pearce pulled that swerve on Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman to bring it back Kevin Owens to face Reigns in the last man standing match at the Rumble. We're at the Thunderdome at Tropicana Field in St. Petersburg, Florida, as Michael Cole welcomes us, and it's Corey Graves as well. We got Roman Reigns and we got Paul Heyman at the ring. Greg Hamilton, I believe, is doing the introductions tonight. Cole and Graves hyped the last man standing match. Reigns talks a little bit about Owens. They're booing. They're not feeling it. Reigns kind of rips everybody down on the mic. Pierce and Roman Reigns get into it. And then Heyman and Pierce get into it, which is pretty great. Heyman's taunting Pierce. The long and short of it is they shake on having a match. Pierce versus Heyman tonight, one-on-one. And immediately I go, I am much more intrigued in this than most anything that's happened on Raw lately. And I know they're going to have the obstacle course event between Bianca Belair and Bayley as well. So not too bad. The announcers can't believe what happened. They put that over, of course, and then they plug Big E versus Apollo Crews for the Intercontinental title later tonight. Sami Zayn, though, he's got his documentary film crew. I think that's a kind of a good shtick, honestly. He's got some kind of sign, says justice for Sammy. He rants about his last week's loss and not making the Royal Rumble match, which I think is pretty great. He's putting over the fact that he lost and he's not going to be in the Royal Rumble, and it's meaningful for him. Often when things don't happen for them, it's kind of like, oh, well, that would affect you, and it would make you want to take action. So good job there. I really like that. SmackDown is just a more tightly booked show where everybody seems like they have things going on for a reason. Though we are suffering from the usual WWE thing of half the show being used to promote the other half of the show, but so it goes. So we got the Riot Squad against Asuka and Flair. Not a bad bit of business here. Certainly much better than watching Asuka get demolished on Raw. Long story short, Asuka hits the code breaker, Flair tags in, hits the natural selection for the pin, and the win. We're also confirming that we're going to have Carmella's sommelier Reginald against Sasha Banks later tonight. So we're back from the break, and Billie Kay is apologizing to the Riot Squad for what happened. Ruby Riott says she cost him a shot at the title. Billie believes they can work this out. Riot ends up saying the squad was much better when it was just the two of them. They apologize and walk off. Okay. Go back to the ring, and out comes Daniel Bryan to a big pop and a yes chant. Yay. Bryan's starting to talk about the Royal Rumble, but Cesaro interrupts him. Bryan suggests they have a match now. Cesaro against Ziggler is going to happen instead. So we get that match. Daniel Bryan is on commentary instead. There's roll-ups and counters. Cesaro hits big finish, right? Neutralizer in the middle of the ring, pin to win. And he taunts Bryan. Got Reginald against Sasha Banks. well, Sasha Banks comes to the ring first. We go to commercial, and then back from the break, out comes Carmella with Reginald. And this is something I like that SmackDown does. They tend to not do this. We're promising something is going to happen, and then something else happens after the break before you get to the thing you thought was going to happen. That's a very Raw thing. Here, Sasha Banks comes to the ring, which is exciting. People like seeing her. And then they go to commercial, and then they come back, and then her opponent comes to the ring. Makes sense. Everything's bridged nicely. The match is mostly Banks avoiding Calamity and kind of tossing Reginald around the ring and outsmarting him for the most part. At the end of the day, there are some really bad wrestling counters at the back. At the end of this match. It's really awkward, really bad. But thank goodness Banks finally drops Reginald with the Banks statement, and then he taps him out for the win. So Banks and Carmella are yelling at each other. Paul Heyman and Roman Reigns are backstage. Heyman's trying to kiss Reigns' butt, telling him how good he was, how he seemed to sense what he wanted, and all this stuff, and Pierce fell into it. Reigns, though, isn't happy. He said he handed Heyman the mic so he could rip Pierce to shreds verbally, not challenge him to a match. Now, Heyman has to go do this because Reigns didn't hire a punk to represent him, and he hired a man. So Heyman looks shocked that he has to go wrestle Pierce. Reigns tells Heyman to go handle his business. Oh boy, that's a nice bit of business there. It certainly heightens the anticipation for the main event. Even though I highly suspected, I put in my notes that there's going to be some kind of bait and switch about it, I like that they're continuing to build this main event. We got Apollo Crews against Big E for the Intercontinental title. Sami Zayn basically comes in, starts kicking everybody in the face. So Apollo Crews wins by DQ. Sami Zayn leaves them both laying and talks that smack. Makes sense. Still to come, we got Heyman versus Pierce. They're promoting the hell out of this thing. They reveal that Roman Reigns has left the arena, and they say that Kevin Owens is also not there. So we see a pre-recorded video from Owens saying that Reigns pulled strings and is keeping him out of the building. So we're really building up this notion that it's going to be Pierce and Heyman in this main event without anybody interfering. Commercial. We're hyping the Royal Rumble. Got the Street Profits walking with a fruit basket. What? They stop at Dolph Ziggler and Sonya Deville. The Profits talk about how it's been 2 weeks since they lost the Smackdown Tag Team titles to Ziggler and Rude. They want the rematch. They hesitate, but they agree. We see crew members setting up for Bayley's Ultimate Athletic Obstacle Course Challenge. Yay! We're back from the break, and guess what? We do it. Raw needs to learn this from SmackDown. You set up a promise and an expectation with the audience, and then you pay it off right away. Love it, love it, love it. There's a whole bunch of stuff to do, tires and all this stuff. Bayley cheats her way around it, runs around the walls instead of scaling them. Grabs Chad Gable and carries him with a fireman's carry with his kind of help doing it. And then she does, eventually she shoots the basketball and the timer stops at 1:12. And then Bayley tells the crew to est the course up. So they put higher hurdles and then at one point she has to carry Otis, not Gable, but she does it. Boy, if this was about making Belair look great, they certainly did that. She dunks the ball. Awesome stuff. Bayley throws the ball at her and then just starts beating her up. Gets some heat on her. Great segment. Made Belair look great. Made Bayley look like an asshole. Win, win, win. Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio are backstage. Dominic promises that he's got this with King Corbin tonight. Again, half the show to promote the other half. If they could just get more things promoted in advance, it would make me enjoy SmackDown even more. I do enjoy it. I just think they need to start building up shows a week in advance. And then a match or two for the next pay-per-view every single time. Just get into that habit. Things change, of course, but the more they develop this kind of thinking, the better off they're going to be. So we got King Baron Corbin against Dominic Mysterio. As predicted, King Baron Corbin wins this thing. A decent bit of business, and that's that. See Heyman walking backstage wearing his suit, and then we go to commercial. I noticed that SmackDown only does this "I'm walking backstage" commercial. They only do that for the main event, so I don't hate it because they only use it for that convention. That's okay. So Adam Pearce is in the ring. Here comes Heyman, taping his fists, still wearing his suit. Then he falls down at ringside and yells about the card being subject to change, so he feigns an injury. Music hits, and here comes Roman Reigns. Oh boy. He enters the ring and drops Pearce with the Superman punch right away. Heyman's yelling at him. Reigns is kind of tossing him around all over the place. Though, every time Pearce, starts to get a little offense, Reigns just cuts him off. This is a fight. This isn't a match at all, because he's low kicking him and all kinds of stuff. So as Reigns grabbing him and tossing him everywhere, a hooded man attacks Reigns. Of course, it's Owens. The brawl back and forth. Owens blocks the Superman punch, hits him with the stunner. Reigns rolls to the floor. Owens follows, sends him into the barrier. Really, Owens is whooping on him pretty good. And then pop-up powerbomb through the announce table. That's the picture that I'm showing here. I got a good screen capture of it. And Owens is standing over him. Again, a very good go-home show. They've set up some business for a future show and a couple of good things for the Royal Rumble. I ain't mad at it. It's a great job, SmackDown, and I think they're getting rewarded for it as well with an increased audience over a month or two ago. And it stands to reason. It's a very good show. Just a couple of bad habits they need to clear up. Anyway, this is Stephen Platinum, your friend in wrestling with Platinum versus SmackDown.